Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Harvard Varsity Club. It's truly an honor to be recognized as one of the top nerds to ever set foot on a baseball field, so I appreciate that. While Harvard may not be known as primarily a sports-related institution, we have an amazing sports and baseball history. So a few fun facts I want to share with you. The first ever catcher's mask was developed by a Harvard third baseman and worn by his teammate in 1877. Harvard has 19 Major League Baseball players, including one of my teammates, Frank Herman, class of 2006. And of the countless teams I've either played for or against, I've only known 2 people who could pitch with both arms, former teammates Mark Horton and Matt Rooney. So while we're known for the academics, there's a special sports history, and I'm honored to be a small part of it. Baseball and Harvard are the most important institutions in my life, so I want to spend a little time sharing some gratitude about each of them. My love for baseball was born, I think, in much the same way as it was for many other overweight, only child introverts, which was playing by yourself in the backyard. But I had the benefit of an AM radio tuned into Vince Scully and broadcasting Dodger games and reenacting every single play of those games by myself for hours for years. By the time I was 9, I imagined my parents looking out of the back window of the house, seeing a fat kid hitting stuff into the neighbors' yards, and thought, you know, it's probably time that we start to socialize him, and they forced me to play ball for the first time ever. It was my first sports team, it was my first group that I associated with. So despite those protests, it was an amazing season, and it was also my first time getting time as a catcher, which ultimately I would spend the next 12 years on various teams doing. Baseball was so important to me because it took me all across the country. It took me to most of the 50 states. I got to make amazing friends wherever I went. There were host families that took care of me from Alaska to New Hampshire. It helped my family pick a new hometown when we moved in the middle of 8th grade from California to the East Coast. Go Trumbull Eagles. It taught me hard work. It taught me working out and pushing the limits to failure. I learned about the pain of defeat, and I learned what it was like to be a winner. So baseball to me was the ticket. It was the ticket to friends, to exploration, teamwork, celebrating, all the things that continue to motivate me today. And ultimately, it was my path to Harvard, the other institution I'm here to thank tonight. So thank you to the teammates who are here in person, Morgan, Javi, Justin, and Ben. It's pretty awesome to have some support in the room tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you also to Harvard for my best friends in the world. Class of 2005 baseball, our Miami trips, standing with each other on our wedding days, and now family trips with the Arteagas. Javi and his wife Tanya are here tonight. Minnesota and road trips with Rob Wheeler, Easters in New Hampshire with AJ Salamini, and watching Philadelphia sports with a true Philly fan, Ian Wallace. If you haven't had the chance, I would highly recommend doing that. Those are some of my best memories. There are too many teammates, unfortunately, that I can thank in the time we have tonight, but I consider each of you friends and partners and 4 of the best years of my life. To the coaches, Coach Matt Hyde, he was the one that brought the intensity and wanted Harvard to be considered a serious contender wherever we went. Coach Gary Donovan threw some of the best batting practice and made us look good ahead of some of our games. And to the late Coach Walsh, thank you for your passion. It was unmatched. I wish I could have lived up to that level that you had. And it was a great gift by recruiting me to Harvard. So cheers, Deuce, and Coach Decker, thanks for continuing the tradition since his passing. Harvard brought me one last amazing gift, and it wasn't until years later. When I was at school, I was a collector of the great t-shirts that were sold on campus ahead of the Harvard-Yale football games. I had one that said "Yuck Fail." I had another that showed unspeakable acts between John Harvard and the Yale Bulldog, and another one that read, "Harvard has a good football team, whereas Yale has a bad football team. Booyah!" When I moved to California in 2010, I was wearing my Booyah shirt, and I walked into a bar, and I noticed a very beautiful girl who seemed to be checking me out. My wife would later claim she was offended by my shirt because she had aunts and uncles that were professors at Harvard, but no matter, the details were not important. I had all the confidence I needed. So thank you, Harvard, for that one, and thank you, Aaron, for taking a chance on me, and for our 3 beautiful children, Sawyer, Reese, and Tegan, who I wish could be here tonight. There'll be a day where I hope that you can return some other time. I love you guys all so much. You're the greatest motivation, and the reason that I go out in the world and compete for good every day. None of the gifts that I received from baseball or Harvard would have been possible without my parents. So I'd like to end with the biggest thank you to them. Mom and Dad, you sacrificed weekends, you sacrificed summers, your own time, your own comfort, so that I might always have the best. When I was recruited for baseball, one of the schools we looked at was the University of New Haven. And I don't mean that as a pejorative for the Bulldog friends. I actually mean Division II University of New Haven Chargers that offered me a full ride for baseball. And I went to the campus, we had a great visit, we met the coach and he was great. When we got back in the car, my parents immediately got to work figuring out how to rearrange their lives and their finances to make Harvard work. And I remember them saying there's only one Harvard. And you guys made it a reality. So I sometimes think about how different things would have been if you assumed there was any limit to what you could do for your son. Well, there wasn't, and I love you, and I owe it all to you. I reached a point toward the end of my playing days where I was burnt out, and I convinced myself that baseball was just a game, and it was almost silly how much people cared. But I was also convinced when I got into Harvard that life was going to be easy after that. Everything was set. I had my golden ticket. Reflecting on everything for this event, I was wrong about it all. I already talked about the gifts from baseball and bringing people together. And the real gift from Harvard wasn't the resume builder. It was the people I met, the journey we took together, and what I believe myself capable of having graduated from the best school in the world. So thank you, baseball. Thank you, Harvard. And thank you, the Harvard Varsity Club. And thanks everyone for your time tonight.